how can you become a better educator? Well, visit other workshops. You're always going to learn something new. I've been doing this for, okay, I'll admit it, Michael, more than 1 year. But I still learn things from different workshops. I went to one a while ago where the instructor all of a sudden came out with this huge Mr. Potato Head. What on earth are you going to do with that? And she says, well, her words were, how does Mr. Potato Head go from spud to stud? And the people answered with his nose. And she put his nose on with his eyes, with his mustache, and they created Mr. Potato Head Home Buyer. And the way she correlated that was, she says, well, how do you go from renter to home buyer? Well, you need the pieces of the puzzle. And your pieces were your lender, your realtor, your processor, your closer, your appraiser. And she went through all the different people you'll encounter in the process. And I thought, wow, good idea. People laughed at it. Now, I didn't buy a Mr. Potato Head, but we did a graphic in our PowerPoint that kind of encompassed the same thing. We had Mr. Potato Head and all his eyes and everybody flying into him.
That's great.
But you know, you're always going to pick up different tricks. Establish partnerships. You might be surprised how many agencies are out there who have a mission to provide education and outreach. We were surprised over the last few years just how many have and what information they can offer. Some of the partners, obviously, the U.S. Department of HUD, Fannie Mae, and Freddie Mac. Other nonprofit housing agencies. You know, sometimes it's worth consideration if you've got 5 different nonprofits teaching a workshop and each of them is getting 5 people, maybe it'll be better to join forces and maybe come up with an education consortium. And instead of educating 5 people between all of you, you might have 80 people in a workshop. So, you know, sometimes it's worth investigating that. Of course, as a nonprofit, our best partners are our government housing agencies, lenders and realtors, partners that you've worked with that do affordable lending. You know, we often encounter this, and I'm sure you do too. We used to laugh at our office. We would get all these brochures from lenders that would say CDC specialist, you know, and we had never closed a loan with them. We never even spoken to them. You know, but these are partners that you work with, large banks that you may do special programs with. The Department of Financial Services. They have an insurance division. That's who oversees the insurance industry. They are a valuable partner, and they have the task of doing a lot of outreach. We have them come to our workshop every month, and they bring this great envelope for the participants. And the nice thing is, they're not salespeople. They talk about insurance to help people understand how to get the best benefit that they can, and they're selling them an insurance policy. But they provide them with all sorts of checklists, credit, how credit impacts your insurance, what to do in a natural disaster, shopping for insurance and a mortgage, an inventory checklist, and then they have this wonderful book that they use statewide, which really actually has a lot of excellent information. But people don't always realize that they have offices across the state, and that one of their functions is to go out and do outreach. So that's a valuable partner that you may want to work with. Another one that you don't always think about is your local property appraiser's office. Many of them also have a mission to do outreach, to educate people on property taxes and how to anticipate that. And right now we know that is a big reason why a lot of people face foreclosure, because they didn't understand the taxes, they didn't anticipate how to budget for that, how to handle future increases. So contact your local office and see if they can send someone. We don't always get the property appraiser, well now it's herself, but they usually will send someone to every workshop. Progress Energy, in your areas you might have Florida Power and Light, and I know there's different utility companies. Many of them have outreach missions as well, and they provide a lot of excellent information on how to save money on utilities. And actually, you can save money yourself. I know when we were first approached about having Progress Energy come, I thought, oh gosh, I can't imagine that that's going to be very exciting. But the two speakers actually were pretty funny. But, you know, I told them I was convinced they had a video camera in my home, because a lot of that happens. They talked about I did. How many of you, be honest now, I have 2 Persian cats. I used to leave the fans on all day, the ceiling fans on, to keep them cool. Anybody do that for your pets, or you just leave them to circulate? You know, and I'm thinking, well, you know, as they mentioned, unless you're under the ceiling fan, at that particular moment, it's not doing you any good. So if they're sleeping in the other room, and you've got ceiling fans on in all the other rooms, then you're wasting time. That in itself, just turning ceiling fans off, reduces your energy by $14 a month. Who knew, right? You know, simple things you can do. But Progress Energy or your utility company, definitely contact them to see. And again, if nothing else, you can get valuable handouts, valuable pamphlets. The IRS, you know, I know we don't like the IRS, but they actually do some good things too. But you know, there's a lot of information over the years that are significant. Right now, there's the new, you know, tax credit that a lot of people are asking questions about. You know, I'm still trying to learn more about it so that I can educate our buyers, but we've been in touch with the IRS, and they're going to provide us with some pamphlets and the forms for people to be able to file that. You know, and they're going to try to see if they can get a speaker, but at least if you can't get these people to come out, you can get them to provide some information for you. And again, if you want to look at this later, any of you, in this envelope, these are all the things that we hand out to people. The FDIC is a really valuable website. You can get a lot of publications from them, and we use a lot of them in our workshops. You know, some of the things we have, of course, HUD, my favorite one of all is 100 Question and Answers from HUD. It's a good resource. You know, you can get it free from the U.S. Department of HUD. FEMA came out with this a few years ago, and we've ordered several copies. It's an emergency financial first aid kit. What's good about it is your participant can fill out everything about them in this one book. So if they ever have to evacuate and they don't have time to clean out their filing cabinet, they at least have all their insurance numbers, their policy numbers, all their critical information. The FDIC has information about getting credit, how to build a better credit record. You know, again, these are things that are going to enhance what you're doing in your workshop, and it's good information for people to get after the fact. To be a better educator, keep current on housing guidelines. You know, if your lenders do training seminars, attend them. If you're part of your local realtor organization, or maybe a networking group where there's a lot of lenders or realtors, take advantage of having those partners and make sure you're up to date. Also, the HUD, Fannie Mae, and FDIC websites are a good resource to keep up to date if there's been any changes. If you're not comfortable with speaking, and you know that happens, sometimes those of us in the nonprofit world, you know, we get thrust into this and it's like, oh, I didn't realize I was going to have to stand in front of 70 people. If you're not comfortable, you know, go to one of these workshops and try to not be fearful but be confident. It goes to what we said before, be prepared, because your participants are not going to, you know, want to listen from you if you're nervous.